This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. We are delighted to be joined once again by Alessia C. Travaglini. How are you enjoying yourself today, Alessia?
Hi, Jamie. Thank you for inviting me again, and I'm so happy to join you and your community again. It's a very important occasion for me, and thank you very much. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine in Gattinara. Ready to. We are trying to be ready for the season, for the upcoming season, filled with new energies, positive energies, which is the most important part, and full of news, which I'm going to tell you and explain. We are so thrilled. How about you?
Things are great over here. I'm delighted to be able to get this little wine on our shelves over here, which we'll be talking about today. A few months ago, we chatted about your family's winery, its importance within the region, the establishment of Gattinara, and we spoke about the wine that's usually available within Ontario, but this is something quite special. This is the 2018 Tre Vigne. I believe this is a combination of three different vineyards, if I remember what you told me the last time. But I'd love to get your take on this wine, what it is composed of, and what it means to you as a family.
So thank you for asking. It's actually very important for us. It's a very important thing because for the first time after, I think, an entire decade, we are able to present again on the shelves of LCBO our Tre Vigne. It's generally something that at LCBO, generally we show the Reserva.
Yes.
So for the first time, after a very long meeting with them, we were able to present officially to Ontario communities, the Tre Vigne. Exactly as you say, the Tre Vigne means three vineyards, so it's a blend of three different crus in Gattinara. Of course, when I mentioned crus as comparing three specific vineyards that are exactly in a specific area, in a specific hills in Gattinara with specific characteristics. But of course, I cannot compare as the mentioned cru in Barolo, just because of a difference of the dimension of the territory. Okay. So consider that, as I told you last time, Gattinara is very small. There are only 120 hectares. So consider that the crus will be very, very small. So especially for these three vineyards were selected from the beginning of the 90s by my grandfather. When he started to pay a lot more attention on the exact characteristics and soil composition of each single vineyard, each single crus in Gattinara, because he realized that there was important richness in terms of soil composition. I told you the volcano, the presence of the ancient volcano. Exactly, for the Tre Vigne, for these three vineyards, we are exactly in the middle part of Gattinara, in the central area, where used to be the magma chamber. So imagine the beautiful complexity of the composition of this soil. So these three vineyards are in the same hills, but in different, with different exposure to sun, different altitude, different age of the vines, and different little differences in soil composition.
I see.
So basically, he started from the beginning of the 90s up to 1997, when he officially released the first vintage of Tre Vigne to study different blends, different vineyards, the characteristics of each single one. And finally, in 1997, came with these three selections.
Now, please tell me a little bit about the varying ages of the vines, the aspects, and the soils themselves from these three different sites.
Yes, actually, starting from the first one is about 300 meters up on the sea level. Is the first one in terms of altitude of the three, and has a completely exposed to sun, which is southwest. Since it's at foothills of the vineyards, actually we have the classic rocks composition but a little bit deeper than the rest of the area of Gattinara. This means that since it's a foothills, we have all the residual parts, all the residual rocks, and the detritus that came along the years, along the hills. So we have a quantity, a little bit more quantity of clay. Compare the rest of the richness that comes from the rocks, the rocky part, which is a little bit more subsoil. So this vineyard is very important in the blend because it gives a little bit more color in the final blend. So a richness in the color. The second one is the opposite side. So there is the rocks. There are the rocks of the different types that are arising directly from the soil. So this means that it's very impressive because if you walk through the lane, you walk literally on the rocks. It's impressive. Every time I go there, I'm blessed and I'm surprised how the vines can survive in a very difficult type of soil. And this one, of course, gives richness to the blend, to the wine, especially because if you walk through, you can find some pink rocks, some violet rocks. This is the blue porphyry. Then we have some other colors, which is very rich in terms of, is very reddish. This is a red porphyry. Then we have a lot of iron, as everywhere in Gattinara. So you have these orange stripes, which comes from the oxidation of the iron. Then you have a little bit of manganese, which is this black part. You have a little bit of basalt as well. So it's very colorful, that vineyard. It's the oldest one of the three. It was planted in 78, and is exactly with a beautiful exposition, which is from east to south to west, because it's like a kind of round of the hills. It's on the top of the hills. And it's the central one in terms of altitude. We go up to 360 meters up on the sea level. Then we have the highest one, the third, which is very exposed to the wind that blows, that arrives directly from the Monte Rosa, the Alps, which surrounded all the vineyards in Gattinara. That are exactly at the backward of the hills. So basically, if you turn on yourself, you can see the beautiful glacier of the Mount Rosa behind, and if you turn yourself, you can see the rest of the Piemonte area. So there's a beautiful part. And exactly that vineyards were selected because of the wind. So it's giving a little bit more freshness to the final blend.
Is the soil here more shale-based in that highest vineyard?
A little bit more, a little bit more. This is more porphyry-based. So the first two types that I mentioned is basically that composition. But one beside this, which is of course a very important part, actually the very important reason why it was selected is because of the wind. This breeze that there is every hour of the day and every day of the year is impressive. Every time you go there, there is this little breeze, which is very nice.
And when you bring these three different components together, it's very obvious to me in the glass here. As much as I enjoyed the wine we tasted the last time, this tastes more complete to me. With these three different elements, it brings the wine into a really enchanting balance, shall we say. I find this a lot more delicate as well. Aromatically, it really jumps out the glass. It was interesting. I was reading one review of this, and it was talking about this wine as being rustic, but I don't find it rustic at all. I find it quite exotically perfumed. Not something that I would expect from a wine that was rustic. There is a little bit of volatility on here, but I think that's absolutely beautiful in this wine. And this is 2018. How often do you make this wine?
So this is actually a Reserva because the minimum from the appellation is 4 years aging, of which at least 3 in barrels. But for this wine, we go up to 4 years and a half, with a little bit longer aging in the barrels actually. So of course, compared to the classic Gattinara, the wine that we discussed last time, has a little bit more power, richness. Is definitely richer and more complex.
Yes, for sure.
The first wine, so the Gattinara, is basically the wine that's blend every vineyard, almost every vineyard in Gattinara. So try to create a wine that finds a beautiful balance and gives you an idea of what is the entire area, the entire territory. For the Tre Vigne, is a really specific selection because in this case we were looking for, my grandfather actually, we're looking for a little bit more complexity, a little bit more richness in the palate, and he was experimenting at that time. You remember the 90s, that were the period of the Barolo boys.
Yes, yes.
So in this moment, he wanted to experiment the use of the small barriques. Of course, as you could imagine and as you could feel, all the aging process and all the aromas from the big barrels, from the barriques, from the terroir are very well balanced. Also, because we are considered a traditional winery, so that's why we try to find a beautiful balance considering the big barrels from Slavonian oak and the French oak barriques, of course. Plus, at least 10 months in the bottle before the release, which is very important because it helps you to find a beautiful readiness and balance once you drink it.
So with this wine here, you're using the old Slovenian oak as well as barrique?
Yes, we use both.
I didn't understand that. Yeah.
Basically, our main aging for all our portfolio is in the Slavonian oak. When I say big barrels, Slavonian oak, I really mention big ones because we go up to 102 hectoliters, so very big, 10,200 liters. And for the 30-35% of this wine, aged separately in small barrique as well. That is the reason that explains this kind of aromatic, fruity, so exotical fruits, a little bit more vanilla, some patisserie flavor. Yes, definitely richness and complexity.
Now, what is the average size of production of this particular wine?
So this is actually a very small selection because these 3 crus are not that big. Yeah. So we generally produce an average of 22,000 bottles per year. 22, 24, it depends on the vintage actually. But this is a strict production, strictly, of course, to the dimension of the vineyards actually.
And we spoke before about how you would pair your classic Gattinara with food. What differences would you have at the dinner table? What would you be matching something like this with? Because this is a very different wine.
Yes, definitely. Of course, a richer wine probably needs a richer food, actually. I will go definitely for a very nice first dish, as could be a great pasta, a great risotto with a great sauce, actually, or of course with some second meal. So I'm talking about venison. I'm talking about a little bit of red meat for sure, some tenderloin on the barbecue, for example, or different type of red meat. But definitely that gives a support of this richness that you can find in the wine, and of course the spicy, this very long finish, these tannins that are very smooth and balanced, but at the same time are very long, and the tannins helped from the type of the soil that we have in here in Gattinara as very well present on the tongue, on the palate. So that's why I think it's very nice to have a rich food.
Speaking about the tannins and the acidity here, this is already 2018, but I get the feeling that this wine has quite a lot of life ahead of it. I'm actually wondering, I have some friends coming around on Saturday for dinner, and I'm wondering how it will evolve in the bottle over the course of a couple of days if I cork it up well. because I would like to share this with them very much. This is one of your wines that would age for an extended period, right?
Actually, if you close it, I'm pretty sure that to Saturday is still keeping very, very nice because I don't know. I had this question to respond before and previously, but I had also a little bit of a experience that when a wine is really natural actually, so no particular
Yep.
things added during the process, the wine naturally, slowly evolve. So I'm pretty sure that from now to Saturday, you can keep this wine as well. And you can recognize exactly what are the other wines that are made in the cellar. So
Yeah.
after probably less than a day are completely done. Yes, actually, as I mentioned, the first vintage was 1997. So we can go back to that vintage.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we tasted last March in a vertical event that we did here at the winery. We went back to the 2000 Tre Vigne. That was one of the greatest bottles of that wine tasting. I'm so surprised about the evolution of this wine because he changed a little bit in the first 10, 12 years. So there's a beautiful balance that it reached naturally, but then remained stable for a very, very, very long time. And what I'm more surprised of the wine from this territory is that the tannins and the acidity never change.
Mm.
A few months ago, we go back to taste a different vintage, and we went back to 1967. Not, of course, of the Tre Vigne, but was another was the Classic Gattinara or the Reserva. And I can tell you that the tannins and the acidity never change. Also, this one can guarantee an important richness on the palate and on the perfumes. The perfumes evolve, and you can definitely feel a little bit of leather, a little bit of licorice, a little bit of evolution of the spices under bushes. It's very nice after 5 to 10 years old a bottle. Then when you open, it seems like to be in the very woodland. So in the middle of the trees, so you
Yes.
can feel the heart. So it's very earthy. So something very, very interesting. And of course, this kind of fruity, which is very brilliant at the moment, goes through something a little bit more ripened fruit, a little bit more intense, and of course with a very long finish, both on the nose and on the palate.
Having tasted many old Barolos and Barbarescos in my time, those also being Nebbiolo, I have to say that even with the 6 years of age on this, the evolution into the tertiary aromatics here is entirely different from Barolo or Barbaresco. There's a delicacy here. There's an exoticness that comes through. I find it quite highly perfumed, and I think that's to do with the terroir that you're talking about there. I find this absolutely delightful, and I have never tasted this before. So this is a new experience for me today.
Consider that if you could come here at the winery tomorrow and you ask me, please take a bottle of Tre Vigne, which is in the best moment of his life. I will bring probably now a bottle of Tre Vigne 2010, which to me is now reached a little bit of evolution, just naturally that for the timing that stays in the bottle, but it's still keeping a very nice freshness and has a beautiful energy that can comes from this bottle. To me now, if I can tell you, in 10, 15 years old bottle, to me now the Tre Vigne 2010 will be the best choice at the moment. So this means that after 14 years old from that vintage, he's still keeping a beautiful moment to be enjoyed. Oh, he's still very young, actually, by the way.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, joining us once again to go through the Tre Vigne 2018 Gattinara. Absolutely delightful and wonderful to have your company on Good Food Revolution again. Hopefully, we will see you for a glass of wine sometime soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I really hope to discuss about it, not just on the other side of the world, but probably directly in front of us with a beautiful glass of Tre Vigne or Gattinara or whatever you want.
Sounds wonderful. I will look forward to that, Alessia. Take care, and we'll speak again sometime soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.